Hi everyone, welcome along here to Busy Bee Budgets, where we talk about all about our journey to financial independence and lots of other various rubbish that happens to me in the week. So hope you're okay. It's early in the morning here, so I'm a little bit croaky, so apologies if my voice sounds a bit different today, but I just wanted to get up and get done. Today's payday for me, so always the best day of the month, and I just thought I'd run through kind of what's happening with my budget this month. And then I'll do cash stuff and sinking funds later, but all good really. So June was quite a heavy month for me in terms of like spending, mainly because I had like a couple of trips and a couple of like big things which I budgeted for and kind of stuck to, but it made everything else a little bit more kind of conservative, which was good really. But as always, I didn't really keep track of my no spend days, so I really need to do that. Mainly because there wasn't very many no spend days, so I think I just gave up with it. And also, I say every month I want to sell some stuff, and every month I have not achieved that. So those will kind of roll forward for like goals for July. So unlike everyone else who has like a channel and has beautiful kind of diaries and trackers and journals and stuff, I just do mine in a notepad, and I just kind of, I guess just it's workable for me, but it's not the prettiest, so like I apologise for that. So July for me is going to be a 5-week month starting today, and then I can't believe that's going to take us through to August. That just seems ridiculous, doesn't it, that we're kind of talking about August, but because I get paid on the 8th of the month, this July is going to be a 5-week month for me. Again, I'm going to set my goals as like I'd like to have 10 no spend days, and what I'm actually going to do, I think, is add in and track them. Because I think that's one of the things that's missing at the moment. And I saw Budget Save Grow, which is one of my favourite budget channels on here. She does like a journaly notebook, really beautiful. But she did it week by week, and I think when I've been doing it before, I've been trying to do it on a month basis. So let me see if I can find one. And it hasn't really been working for me. So I think if I do a weekly planner, then that might be better. So I'm going to, I'll add that as a goal, so weekly planner, and then maybe each week when I do my cash stuff, I will have more of a detailed breakdown about what's happening that week and perhaps where I need to stuff cash, because at the moment I tend to do it pretty even throughout the month, and maybe it'd be better, particularly as I get paid monthly and so all the money's already in the account, to kind of front load or back load depending on what's going on in my life that week. So I think I might look into that before I do my cash stuff for next week. I want to hit my sinking funds goal, so I did achieve that last month, and I've got some quite big sinking goals this month, which I'll come on to. I want to sell some stuff. I want to declutter. I want to like purge. I think some of us on here are like, there's something about the budgeting journey which kind of lends itself a bit to like the minimalism mindset. And obviously what's been great is I've definitely been consuming less, which was definitely one of my goals when I started this. So like I'm buying less stuff. I've obviously not bought any clothes since I started this, because that was one of the goals I set myself. And yeah, I'm definitely just like being a lot more conscious about what I buy and when I buy it. And then I guess it'd be good to kind of get stuff out the other end, particularly stuff I no longer want or use. It'd be good for someone else to have the opportunity to use that and also to make some money. So I'm going to add in weekly planner. So I mentioned that I've been doing a clothes diet or clothes ban. So since I started this back in February, I started on the first week of February, I've not bought any clothes whatsoever. And what I'd like to do for the next 6 months, because I can't believe it's July, we're talking about the 6 months down to Christmas now, but what I want to do is extend that approach to 2 other areas. So the first is makeup and beauty. So what I'm going to do with that is only buy products that I have used up and finished. So I'm not saying I'm not going to buy any makeup whatsoever, but what I am going to do is consciously only replace stuff I already have. So what that will stop me doing is like picking up a new lipstick or nail varnish because I like the colour, or trying a new product because I've seen like the advertising on it. It's just sticking to what I know works for me. I've got like quite sensitive skin and stuff, but also just making sure that I'm not splurging in that area to compensate for kind of the clothes thing. So I'm going to add that in about, how would I put that? If I just put beauty diet, I'll know what I mean. And then finally, I'm also going to do the same for home stuff. So by that I mean things like scented candles, cushions, throws, little stuff for the table, like all that kind of stuff, which I'm a bit of a sucker for every time I go to the B&M or the Range or whatever. and I'd like to kind of basically not buy anything else now for 6 months. I've got loads of different options. All I need to do is kind of refresh what I've got out from what I've already got in the house, if that makes sense, rather than just kind of getting distracted and picking up stuff because I like it. So I'm going to call that house stuff diet. So with these, I'm just basically going to be like not buying stuff. And what I have done is reduce my spends budget accordingly, because if I'm no longer buying that, then that's okay. So this month, moving on to the more interesting things. So this month my income is 5,000 from my main job, and then 450 from my side hustle. So that gives me a collective income of that 5,450. I know I'm super lucky to have such a high income, and like this whole journey for me is about being more mindful and intentional with that money, because I definitely fell into a trap where it was really easy just to tap your card and buy stuff, and that would be everything from like the cushions and the throws and stuff right through to like expensive meals and holidays. So just this whole thing's about being intentional, but I appreciate how lucky I am to have that income. In terms of my fixed costs this month, they don't really change. So bills at 1,500. I'm building up a bit of a buffer to deal with gas and electric rise later in the year. So I mean, none of us quite know what that's going to be, but at the moment I'm building up a bit of a buffer in the account. So my household bills come to about 14.20 a month, and that covers gas, electric, phone, broadband, the mortgage, life insurance, pet insurance, just like anything that's basically a grown-up adult bill that I don't have a choice about paying, kind of falls into that. So I'm building up a bit of a buffer, and then if I need to, once we know what gas and electric's going to go to, then I can increase that. Gym is 90 as always. I've got various subscriptions which come to about £50, so they cover things like I get my dishwasher tablets on a subscription, and various other bits and pieces. So that's that. Car tax is obviously self-evident, and then loan. So that loan will be paid off by the end of the year. That was to pay for my master's degree, which is all done and dusted now. And so that comes to 2,400. So what I'm looking forward to now, because I can't believe how quickly the year is going, is knowing by the end of the year that will be gone, and then that will significantly reduce my fixed costs. And I think for next year, I'm going to try and potentially up my side hustles, and maybe that pays for my variables, and then I'll be able to put more of my salary into sinking funds and investments, which is kind of where I want to go for next year. So a couple of you guys asked for a video about my financial goals, so I'm going to do that separately, but I think this monthly budgeting process just shows you how quickly time goes and how that's not very far away. So that's really kind of a really good incentive, I think. In terms then of my variable expenses, so we've got 500 for food this month, and that covers everything I buy at the supermarket. So it's food for myself and my husband, and generally we're eating all meals in the house because we're not really travelling anywhere at the moment. Dog food and all her stuff, like her treats and her bags and all those types of things. All the cleaning materials that we use in the house. And when we say we, I mean I love stuff. And then finally toiletries, so things like deodorant, hair dye, shampoo, all that kind of stuff. So basically anything I buy at the supermarket comes out of the food budget. So I've kept that £100 a week. What I was doing before was for the 5-week months, I was basically giving myself £400 a month. So if it was a 4-week month, it was great. I was getting £100 a month, £100 a week, sorry. But if it was a 5-week month like this is, then I would only be getting £80 a week. And I think just with prices and everything else, that just was a bit tight. So this month I've increased it so that it's £100 every week, and I'm hoping that will kind of be more than adequate. But as we all know, like, prices are just continue to go up all the time. Similar for fuel, so I've upped that from sort of 80 to 90 just to 100. That's how much it costs me to fill a tank now, and I generally get through like a tank a month. So that's fuel. Self-care is getting 100, but I might increase that, but we'll see how the month goes. I'm not paying for any skin stuff at the moment because I have a skin disorder that I treat in the winter but not in the summer. But I am thinking about doing some online nutrition stuff. So I might need to up that for that, but at the moment that's where we're at. Social's getting 150, so £30 a week. Miscellaneous, which just covers anything else I haven't thought of, gets 50. Spends is getting 100, so that for me is things like a coffee if I'm out, or if I want one, or just like the little kind of day-to-day treats and stuff. But as we said, like I've cut out quite a lot of these categories now. So like no beauty, no clothing, no house stuff and stuff. So actually these things are getting fewer and fewer, far between. But sometimes I use it to top it up social if I'm kind of obviously meeting friends or whatever. And then giving's getting 50. So I tend to use that money either for sponsoring friends or people I know who are doing stuff, or if not, I just give it to my local food bank. And then this is where it gets fun. So I had 5,450 in income. My fixed costs come to 2,400. And I don't know if anyone else is like me on this, but I kind of like round numbers. So what I did was, for my variable costs, is I got them to 1,050. So that it was an even number, which is probably the wrong way of doing it. So 5,450 minus 2,400 left me with £3,050, and then my variable expenses for this month I plan to come to 1,050, which leaves me exactly £2,000 to pop in my sinking funds. And one of my goals I'd like for 2023 is basically to be putting 50% of my income into sinking funds. Obviously, as I said, I'm super fortunate to have that high income, but I would particularly like to do that. So what I do with my sinking funds is I use, it's either the avalanche or the snowball method, one of them. So what I'm doing, rather than stuffing lots of different funds with a bit each month, I'm doing them on a rolling basis. So I'm fully stuffing and then moving on to the next fund and doing it that way. So that's why it looks like this. So financial goals is going to get 1,000. So earlier on this year, I bought a business, which is where my side hustle income comes from. But I paid for that out of my savings, and I'm paying myself back, if that makes sense. So that's kind of going into financial goals. Next year, I think I'd like to think about some investments I can make, whether stocks and shares or potentially like property, especially if the market goes down. So I'm kind of putting that away at the moment for those. Gifts was the sinking fund that I fully stuffed last month, and I've spent £90 out of it. So what I'm going to do is top up each of the sinking funds where I have spent it, and then move on to my one for this month, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, watch my sinking funds video. That should hopefully make more sense. So the main fund that is getting stuffed this month is vets. So that's going to be fully funded at £500. And then that leaves me a balance of 410, which I'm going to put towards my car fund. So that all comes to 2,000. But it's really nice to know that my emergency fund is fully stuffed, gifts will be fully stuffed again, health will be fully stuffed, vets will be fully stuffed, and then car will be fully partly stuffed this month. So it just means that by Christmas time, all of my sinking funds will be fully stuffed, and I can just then move on to thinking about those financial goals for 2023. That's obviously assuming I don't have to use it for anything, but fingers crossed, they stay there. So that is my budget for this month. I think some of these are a little bit tight just compared to like what else I've got going on. But we will see where we get to, and I can always adjust in month, which is what I did last month when I spent quite a lot on social, and I had to kind of pull it back from other categories, and so if I need to do that again, that's what I will do. But you know, having this kind of not to exceed kind of cost there is kind of good. So my next video is going to be my week one cash stuff, which should be quite straightforward because it's not too bad. And then I'm going to do one on sinking funds, and then I am going to do a video about my financial goals, probably for like the next 6 months, and then like what I'd hope for 2023, now that I'm kind of really into the groove of this budgeting process. And I don't know if anyone else feels this, but like I feel like when I sit down to do my budget, it's actually kind of like a bit of me time and a bit of like quiet meditation. I think it's nice to think about the goals, what I want to achieve, and be a bit more intentional with them. So yeah, so that is my budget for July. What you'll notice is we haven't got any holidays at the moment. My car does need, potentially could need replacing next year. So I think I'm going to start thinking about setting up a sinking fund for that. So I think now that we've got a bit more certainty in the world, I mean, barring like Bojo resigning and everything else that's going on, but in terms of like you can start to plan stuff, I think as part of the 2023 process, start thinking about what I'd like to save for next year. and yeah, kind of what we want to work towards. So there we go. That is my budget for July. Thanks for sticking with me. Apologies, it's not as beautiful as others, or my hands, which everyone else has beautiful nails in these channels and I don't at all. So apologies for that. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.